In this video, we'll show you how to install an aftermarket HD14 PMX-STG3 on a 2015 Road Glide. The PMX source unit is ready to go right out of the box. It's pre-configured with an optimized EQ curve, eliminating any requirement to flash the radio. This will allow you to experience the full potential of this audio system the way it was meant to be. Okay, get started by removing the seat using a number 2 screwdriver. We'll then use a 1/2-inch socket to move the ECU cradle out of the way to access the battery. Once that's done, you can use a 10mm socket or Phillips screwdriver to disconnect the battery terminals. All right, now we're ready to remove the fairing. We'll start by using a Phillips screwdriver to remove the front windshield. Then remove the air vent diverter and disconnect both marker light harnesses. We'll use a 3/16 Allen driver to remove 2 bolts from both marker lights. Now we'll move to the inside fairing and use a T25 Torx driver to remove the 2 bolts on each side, holding the lower air deflectors in place. Then we'll use a plastic pry tool to pop out the grills and remove the 2 remaining bolts. It's best to have 2 people for this step, one to hold the fairing in position and the other to remove the screws. Now that the fairing is off, we'll remove the headlight assembly. Use a long reach 3/16 Allen driver to remove 4 bolts from the assembly. Decouple any connectors attached to the headlight, then pull down the headlight and detach the wiring harness. Okay, now we're ready to remove our speakers. To get started, use a T25 Torx driver to remove 4 screws from each speaker. Remove the speaker and detach the harnesses. Save the hardware for installation of our new speakers later on. Okay, now that we have that done, we're ready to remove the gas tank. We'll get started by disconnecting the gas line. Push up on the hose and while sliding the fitting upward, pull down on the gas line. Use a 1/2-inch socket to remove the 2 bolts in the back, then disconnect the electrical harnesses and pull the 2 breather lines. Note that they might be zip tied underneath. Detach the rubber boot from the front of the gas tank and use a 1/2-inch socket to remove the bolt. Repeat the process on the other side. Then once you're done, carefully remove the gas tank from the motorcycle. All right, we're ready to install our power harness. First, cut any zip ties off and unsnap the wiring trough cover. Once that's done, we'll take the power connector side of our harness and run it up the clutch side of the motorcycle. We'll route our harness through the main opening up to the headlight area, following the factory wiring harness. Make sure you have enough slack to make your battery and amplifier connections. All right, we're ready to prep for installation of our amplifier. We recommend removing the radio since it's easier to install our bracket. To get started, we'll disconnect the wiring from the back of the radio. Now we suggest taking a photo with your mobile device so you can remember where each connector attaches. Once that's done, use a 3/16 Allen driver to remove 4 bolts securing the radio in place. Remove the radio, being careful not to scratch the front bezel. We're making progress and we're ready to prep our amplifier bracket. Using the T-bracket and heatsink, flip the T-bracket over and align it with the screw locations noted on the bottom of the heatsink labeled 2015 Road Glide. Note the bracket and heatsink orientation. Then use a 2mm Allen and flathead screws to secure the bracket to the heatsink. Now we're ready to prep the amplifier. Start by removing the power connector harness from the amplifier using the included Allen wrench. Attach the new 90-degree harness, noting it can only be installed one way. Ensure the harness is fully seated and secure it into place. Okay, now that we're done with that, we're ready to tune our amplifier. We offer an amp tuning guide that's available in the description of this video and through this kit's product details page at rockfordfosgate.com. Use the included 3mm Allen wrench to remove the control cover. Then use the tuning guide to verify all your settings are correct. A minimal adjustment should be needed to tune the amp. Once done, reinstall the cover. Now we're ready to secure the amplifier to the amplifier bracket using the supplied hardware and a 2.5mm Allen driver. Before installing the amplifier, note the orientation of the Rockford Fosgate logo in relation to the larger side of the heatsink. All right, now we're ready to mount the amplifier. Start by flipping the amplifier over with the 90-degree angle connector toward the inside. Slide the amplifier into place with the lip capturing the radio bracket. Use the provided hardware and 8mm socket or wrench to secure the bracket in place. We recommend pre-installing the bolts on the inside before tightening the nuts on the outside. All right, now we're ready to install our new PMX source unit. We've included 2 faceplate bezels, one for each fairing type. This one is for the shark nose style, and this one is for batwing fairings. With the Rockford Fosgate logo oriented at the bottom, snap the bezel in place and secure it to the radio using the provided screwdriver and screws. Next, carefully insert the radio, making sure not to scratch the faceplate or bezel. Then secure it in place using the included bolts and isolators. Slide the isolators over each bolt and use a 3/16 Allen wrench to secure the radio in place. All right, now we're ready to make our wiring connections. Connect your radio antenna, then your USB extension. Remove the existing USB cable and route the new USB extension to the same location. All right, now we're ready to install our T-harness that allows us to interface our Rockford Fosgate audio with the Harley-Davidson electrical system. Plug the T-harness into the rear of the radio and lock the connector in place. Take the factory connector and plug it into the female side of the T-harness and click it into place as well. Okay, we're ready to make our amplifier connections. We'll start with the amp input harness and connect the front and rear to the corresponding amp inputs. Next, connect the Y adapters to the amplifier's front out and rear out connectors. Take the T-harness labeled amp output and attach these to the corresponding amplifier's front out Y adapter and rear out Y adapter. You can use either end of the Y adapter. Finally, plug the power into the amplifier connector and plug the blue wire into the empty connector on the top brake side. This blue wire is the amplifier remote turn on. Take note that there is likely an empty plug that needs to be removed before making your connection. Now, if this plug is occupied with another accessory, relocate the accessory item to pull power from one of the other connectors available. Now we're ready to install our speakers. Connect the factory speaker wires to the new speakers, noting the white wire is positive and the black wire is negative. Align the speakers by orienting the Rockford Fosgate logo toward the bottom. Use the hardware previously used and secure the speaker in place using a T25 Torx driver. You'll install the new grills at the end during the reassembly process. All right, we're ready to prepare our bag lids for speaker installation. To get started, we'll use 3M masking tape to cover the top of the bag lid so we don't scratch the paint. Position the template on top, making sure the front lip of the template is sitting firmly against the ridge of the bag lid. Then mark the 2 pilot holes on top. Remove the template and use a 1/8 inch drill bit to drill 2 holes. Secure the template in place using a number 2 Phillips and the small screws provided in the kit. Our new and improved template makes this easier to perform this task right on the motorcycle. All right, now that we have that done, we'll use a 5/16 bit to drill our pilot holes. Using a saw with a fine-tooth blade, follow along the template while staying within the guides. To maintain accuracy, do not cut the segments of the template until all the slots have been cut. Cutting into the template will lead to fitment issues, especially around the corners. Once you're done, remove the template and clean up the cutouts, making sure there are no burrs around the edges, and test fit our grill. Once you're happy with the fitment, remove the masking tape and repeat the process on the other side. Now we're ready to install our speakers. First, we'll open the bag lid and position the mounting ring and grill in place to make sure that they are properly aligned. The grill goes on the outside and our mounting ring on the inside, where we'll sandwich them together to the bag lid. Using a number 2 Phillips, secure 4 of the smaller screws supplied in the kit. Be careful not to over tighten these. Once that's done, we'll align the speaker and basket protector assembly with the speaker terminals facing toward the rear of the bike. Then secure it to the mounting ring from the inside using 4 long flanged button head screws. Once you're done, repeat the process on the other side. All right, now we're ready to run our saddlebag harness. First, remove both saddlebag and service covers from the motorcycle. Route the harness through the trough and up toward the fairing area. Pull the harness through and connect the Molex to the empty Y adapter on the amplifier's rear out harness. Now we'll move to the back of the motorcycle. We'll start with the brake side harness and run it under the seat frame to the rear bag area. We'll zip tie along the frame and the first eyelet. On the clutch side, we'll use a 1/2-inch socket to slightly pull out the fuse panel and route our harness toward the rear bag area. Be sure to avoid the belt assembly and zip tie along the frame and the first eyelet. Okay, now that we have our harness laid out, we're ready to drill our holes into the bags. We're measuring approximately 4.5 inches down from the front of the bag's quick release and 3.5 inches from the side of the bag. On our motorcycle, this configuration keeps the harness away from any moving parts. We'll need a 3/4 inch hole for installation of the grommet. So to get the hole started, we'll drill a 1/8 inch pilot hole, then switch to a step-up bit to increase the hole to the appropriate size. Then, once you're done, repeat that process on the other side. Okay, now we're ready to wire our bag lids. Start by replacing both service covers back on the motorcycle. Next, we'll position our bag in place and insert the grommet into the 3/4 inch hole. Once you have the grommet seated, finish securing the bag in place. Now, once that's done, use the pigtail harness included in the kit and connect the red wire to the positive terminal and the black wire to the negative terminal. Then plug the pigtail into the main harness. We've included zip ties, zip tie mounts, and retainer clips to help keep your wiring out of the way inside the bag. We've also included some replacement warning stickers for installation on your lids. Then once you're done, Repeat that process on the other side. All right, now that we have that done, we'll clean up our wiring, reinstall the center trough, install our gas tank, and make our battery connections. Now be sure the gas tank harness is connected before proceeding to prevent any error codes. Okay, now we're ready to test and tune the system. Refer to the tuning guide for testing procedures and make any adjustments needed. Remember, the tuning guide is available in the description of this video and on the product details page of our website. All right, now that everything is working properly, let's finish reassembling your motorcycle and get this Harley back out on the road. All right guys, as you can see, that install is pretty straightforward, but if you prefer a professional do the install for you, we have a network of authorized Rockford Fosgate dealers that can be found on our website. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact our technical support. They can be reached Monday through Friday at 1-800-669-9899 or through live chat at the bottom of our website at rockfordfosgate.com. I'm Eric, and we'll see you again in the next video.